drum. Bring my traditional drum in the boot of somewhere. We want to hear some project. They say in English,
hijack. It's called hijack.
Money and wealth is for the mentions.
Absolutely.
Power and strength is for the warriors. But wisdom is for the kings. And respect for our women. And what could be a palace without beautiful music? You know, we have lots of stress and many things as royalties that traumatize us. You must be running the whole house and everything else, but you need those moments where you close off everything and there is just beautiful, beautiful, beautiful music. And all of us who have gone through our history books, we know very well one of the biggest destructions that were caused by colonialism. And we'll speak it until it sinks. Someone writes me a message the other day and says, Maponga, why are you wasting time talking things that happened 1,000 years ago? Then I said to the person, is the Holocaust not 1,000 years ago?
Absolutely.
Is Palestine and Israel not 1,000? Not even 1,000?
Actually, the Bible.
How many years? If you look at all the wars that are being fought on the face of the earth, we are trying to fix the problems of the past. And look at South Africa, look at Africa.
Absolutely.
We would not have any conversation if our conversation does not seek to redress and address the issues of the past. And with me again this afternoon, beautiful afternoon we have, and welcome all, and thank you for giving us an opportunity to be in your houses, wherever you are, in Brazzaville, in Congo, Burkina Faso, you're up in Ethiopia, Eritrea, you're in Kenya, Mombasa, Dar es Salaam, Lusaka, Luanda, Congo. Man, does not matter where you are. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to spend some time with you in your own private space. Your program is Sankofa. Your host is Maponga J, and our guest of honor today is Royal Highness King Bhungane III, Ungelengele. He has been with us on this long journey. We are so excited because while we are planning, when we planned, we did not know it will end up this far. And some young people have also approached us. We need to tell you good news. Someone has approached us agreeing to connect and collect all this information and consolidate it maybe into literature. Then it can actually begin to filter its way into our academic institutions as we are training the community at large. The subject of today is important. I said it in one of my shows the other day, that Mawindot, if you are a man, always avoid talking to women when you are standing. Always avoid talking to each other when you are standing. Because once you're standing, then there are lots of dynamics that are happening there. And worse, when you're standing and fingers start being used, those relationships end up in a mess. A man must sit down. A man must sit down and call people into your space. And then you learn from them. When a king is advising his son, if you are a stranger, sit very carefully and listen attentively. For there, you may find information for yourself also as to how do you need to run your life. I want to take this, that if we call our wives Amakosigas and our Abafana Betu Inkosman, it means that they're coming from royalty. So I want us to move the conversation away from the common people, quote unquote, the local people. And I want us to talk about how does a king build up a palace. And I hope that while we are talking about how to build a palace, women will start sitting like queens. Boys will start sitting like princesses and princes. And the men start assuming the roles in your own homes as the kings of your own home. So that we can duplicate what is happening in the royal palace must be what is happening in our homes. And I hope that our lesson for today will make it slightly higher level, but we hope that you can all reach us right there as to the key components that build up a palace. And don't go away. The program will be very tight because we might go through a bit of polygamy also, and I'll take another short route into polyandry. It's going to be very exciting as we are visiting the ways of the ancient kings. Welcome one more time, King Bhungane, to our wonderful and lovely show. You want to build a palace from scratch. There, the whole thing has been destroyed. The white people have destroyed everything. Some of us have even started as good as your name. Before you can even look at territory, and then you must fight with the government to get your things together, and etc. There you have it. You are a prince, you are a king. You must now start to rebuild your father's empire, your father's monarchy, your father's dynasty. Where do you start? What are the key components of building up the palace?
Bayet, thank you very much for the opportunity.
Bayet.
We will be talking about something that is sacred. Sacred in this sense that it is not something that is just normal, where you just wake up and say, I want to go and reestablish or to restore something that has been there in terms of policy or the kingdom or a chiefdom. I usually tell people that you cannot take a shortcut and want to go to a traditional doctor and say he or she must just quickly fix your problem. Your problem starts with what we would refer as umsamo. Umsamo has this following components. It starts with you as a person to engage into a space that is called a divine space. I always talk about this,
yes,
but it's very critical. So that you start to engage into the spiritual journey where you seek this divinity intervention into your life. Why? Because in the ancient times, kings were not just ordinary people that were chosen by anybody. They were chosen by God, the Creator. And as they were on earth, they were just ambassadors, the eyes and the ears and the mouth
of the
divine. And therefore, for you to be able to move forward, you need to reconnect. By reconnecting, when you are at a certain level of divinity, you are now at the level where you connect with the Creator.
Directly.
You directly. You are not hearing people who are deceiving you, who are lying, shortcut people, who take a cover with this cover that says, I'm a traditional doctor. Meanwhile, he or she is not. Will tell you lies. Like those guys who say, fire, fire in the church. Meanwhile, they said, no, you are going to drive a car very soon.
Yes.
You know, we learn what
but
these are shortcut people.
But the year will be very nice.
Absolutely, absolutely. They're just lying because they want you to put a tithe in their space, you know. But in this form that I'm talking about, it has to do nomsamo, where you connect. After connecting, then you then get directives from the Creator, because you have formed partnership, you have formed friendship.
So firstly, it starts with you, in terms of having your own access. And some of you might not know what umsamo is.
Yes.
Umsamo is a direct translation of a sanctuary, or a temple, or a tabernacle, or an altar, which you begin to design for yourself, a place of conversation,
of connecting with the divinity. Absolutely, yes. Because that's where even they try to follow that in the current epoch or situation, where you'd hear that, oh Father, before the church starts, you would go somewhere, because he wants to connect. Then when he comes into
the people,
the congregation is able to relay the message. So it starts with you. Then out of there, then you get directives to say, how then do you put a replica of heaven on earth? That replica, it becomes a kingdom.
Okay.
It becomes a chiefdom.
Okay.
It tells you to say, you can identify who, or I will bring who and who to form part of your royal council, because these are divine beings, spiritual people who are not having blood in their hands, who do not bear any sin. These are people abangoni, who do not dwell into sin, are divine people who are going to be assisting you as a team
run
to
a
be
divine
able,
agenda.
Absolutely, to run a divine agenda. I think that's where.
Beautiful. And for me, I have always struggled that people would be in such a hurry to read the Bible, and they read about the kingdom of heaven, the kingdom, and you wonder, how do you end up living in a kingdom in heaven when you never lived.
Starts with you.
When you never lived on a kingdom on earth. The one who walks the streets of gold in heaven, they've never held gold while they are on earth.
It starts with you. It begins with you. You because divinity, what it does to you as you grow into levels, it makes you to be a humble person. It makes you to be a disciplined person. You know, humility exists in your space. You become somebody, and then it defines your culture, your traditions, your customs. And then when you meet with such people who are on that space, you then form a nation. It's a divine nation that connects with God. Okay. So that is how a nation is built, because these people, if they follow the laws of heaven, the laws of the Creator, they are now a divine. Remember, according to the scriptures, they say the Jews, they found themselves in this dilemma because what do they do? What is it that they've done? They decided to move away from
the divine.
It is.
They said we want kings.
So
we want democracy, like other nations also have.
As we do today. You see, today, when you look at our people, now God, you know, I was talking about this thing yesterday in one of the engagements. You know, we, you know what I said? I put it very bluntly. I said, we, the people of the first creation. We are the first creation.
Yes.
But God gave us a lot of things, a package that no one has, even the Caucasians, they don't have. I always tell people, you know why white people hate you? Because they do not have the package that I'm going to be, you know, elaborating to you. People refer it as racism. It's not racism. They know deep down in their hearts that they don't have that, and that becomes hatred, not racism. Hatred, because God did not give them what I'm going to be alluding to. One, you have something that is called melanin. They don't have it. And melanin, it's a substance that you find in your system, and something that is created at your back that is designed like a pineal gland. It releases a substance that makes you to connect with the cosmos. It releases a substance that makes you to connect with waters. It connects you with the Creator. White people don't have that. It makes you to become what we refer today as seers, as prophets. They don't have that. That's why they hate you. You'd want to look like them. You go and buy cream, you want to inject yourself with this injection of whiteness. Meanwhile, you are not aware that you are killing that substance that makes you to connect with God. That's where we've gone wrong, all of us. And we decided to detach from that connection. We then referred people who go to the river to go and pray. Because remember, the person who's the first creation on earth by the Creator was Udlomongangi, who came out of the rivers next to the reeds. With his wife. We connect with the person who became our father, who begot us. Now, when we today go to that river, we are referred as witches. Because why? They don't have the connection. They tried to the waters. They tried to steal it. And they put it in the Bible under the context of Moses. Moses, he was never the creation. Adam was never the creation. The creation is Romongangi, the first who became the custodian of earth with his wife. So if we are able to connect with that, then we'll be able to understand, because God will then show you secrets of heaven. You'll have a conversation. You'll be his friend. Out of that, you will then be able to understand how or what are the components that assist you to formulate what we call a kingdom, a chiefdom, a policy, a royal council, and how do you conduct yourself, because you will be a divine, disciplined, cultured, absolutely, all those components.
You are going to give us some things that they don't have. You mentioned melanin.
I mentioned melanin.
The package.
These are the package. And then your color, they don't have.
The color, yes.
Because that melanin...
Our skin can kiss the sun.
It can kiss the sun. You know why?
Yeah.
Because remember what they call it Sunday, as we are having today. Remember that conversation that they had with the Council of Nicaea, where they voted to say, should we pray moon
or sun?
Or sun. And then the council then voted for the sun. Because why? Because they knew that the god of the sun is the one who rules this continent.
When we come back after the break, we are going to be unpacking the package that we as a people of color have, and our main concept for today is building palaces for ourselves. And while we are building palaces, I hope that all of us can go back and build our own homes. Don't go away. We'll be back right after the break.
Tech Talk brought to you by Tamani Technologies and Systems. Tamani Technologies and Systems takes leadership in fourth industrial revolution. The whole world is facing a transformation. The revolution will be developed into the following stages: digitization, cyber security, Internet of Things, managed services, document management, and business applications. We provide business transformation and ICT solutions with presence in 13 African countries and 2 European countries. We are your leading partner in integrated platform providers, innovation leaders, standalone products, and innovation pace setters. Tamani Technologies and Systems, delivering value across continents.
Experience the extraordinary.
Feeling is there that you're doing something special.
Have you lost it? Move!
Stop being so dramatic, Mira.
Challenge your ordinary.
Why don't you start a dance class?
Experience the extraordinary with StarSat.
In life, you find yourself behaving in a way that is uncouth, in a way that is common, in a way that is cheap. And I read this comment somewhere that says, be loyal to the royal that is inside you. Some of you love hashtags. This one you can tag it on. Be loyal to the royal that is inside you. If you don't know what you are made out of, if you don't know where you're coming from, if you don't know the royal blood that runs in you, maybe that's why you act like a common person. And with me again, King Bhungane is taking us through slowly but surely how to build a palace.
Right.
But while we're building palaces, I really hope that at the end of this show, we would have been able to start building homes. Take some notes and see how best you can build up a palace for yourself and build up a home for yourself. And he started off by telling us it starts off with you in creating your own sacred space, creating your own msamo, creating your own temple, creating your own sanctuary, where you can get there and start getting connected to the divine. Okay. And remember, you already have in you that which it takes for you to connect with the divine. And he was taking us through the package of the black person, the melanin that we have, the skin color that we have. And I think we can go even further into the greater African space. The fruits we have,
absolutely,
the animals that we have, the land that we have, minerals that we have.
Absolutely.
And the package is huge. So the hatred of the European community is not just color hatred.
Absolutely.
They would love our resources. They would...
You know, when you talk about that, I would go back to what we were talking about. But this book I read one time, this book, it was written by David Icke. David Icke talks about the Anunnaki tribe. Then he talks about Enki and Enlil. Then he says there is this child that was born out of the cousin to God, according to his context. He says this child was perceived as the cousin to the sister who gave back to this was the cousin to God. He says I think it was Enlil or Enki. He says out of that, then God had sexual involvement with the blood sister. Then a child was born by the name of Enki, I think something. And he says out of that, when God was giving responsibilities of continents, he gave the one that is rich to the child of the cousin sister. That's why he says, that's why a lot of people who are born into this continent are being hated, because they are perceived as people who stole what does not belong to them. That's what he says.
That is a theory.
That is his theory, absolutely. He says, why those who believe that they are from the blue blood, and then what we are having here in the continent, the minerals, they do not belong to us, they belong to them, because they believe that they are born from the blood, the sister.
So literally they push the black people out.
Absolutely.
That
because
similarly also the Dutch and then the Reformed Church in terms of their theology, they even extrapolate on that to say God was cooking people in a big pot, and then he took away the whites first, and then the Indians and the coloreds, and then he forgot the blacks in the bottom of the pot.
He says,
He says,
David Icke, we were not the direct blood descendant to God. We are referred as the children of the cousin sister, and thus they felt, these ones who are saying, because they come from the direct bloodline, we are not supposed to be the owners of these minerals. It belongs to them. That's why they came here and colonized us. That's what he says.
Wow.
Now I want to go back to
they build theology around colonialism.
Absolutely.
And
to justify colonialism.
People must start understanding where I'm coming from. Because until we unpack some of these biblical lies, and we unpack some of these hegemonies and epistemologies, which are totally eurocentric by nature, they capture the minds of the people.
Absolutely.
And until we can destroy that, we would remain working on peripheral issues.
Absolutely. Now, one of the packages that I would like to talk about, we were the first people of creation. White people are not. We were the people who were given what we call a book that is going to guide us how we must live on earth. You know, what I would refer as the Bible that has everything, code of conduct, everything. Then later on, again, to a latest addition to add, again in this continent, we had what we call a Christian book. What we would refer as Christianity, not Jesus Christ, no. Christian book.
The books that start from the Kemetic, the book of the dead, where actually even the Bible itself takes content from there into the...
Then these are packages that they never had, and they hate us for that. The other one, a package, is that we have a connection, we are able to see things that they cannot see. We were then regarded as witches, people who are possessed with a demon. And later, they use the same concept, because somebody says, you know, I met one diplomat, I was on transit from Lusaka, I think so, you know, at a VIP lounge. He said, defining democracy, he says, do you know what is the meaning of democracy? I said, no. Why I said no? Because I wanted to hear his context, you know, his definition. He says, democracy, it is, he says, you know, he made an illustration of what happened to the French Revolution. He says, when Marie Antoinette was having a dinner, when people were hungry, somebody said, one of the aristocrats, he says, hey, these people are shouting down there. Why are they shouting? And then Marie Antoinette says, no, these people are possessed with a demon that is crazy. And that is what they have done to us. They've given us that, he says, that's democracy. Demon that is crazy.
Now
they've given it to us. They've given it to us. That's why we are now possessed, because we've totally detached from those components that I spoke about of connecting with God. What do we do when we toy? We ban the school, we ban the clinics, we ban the libraries. People like that, indeed, that they are possessed with a demon. That is crazy.
Okay.
Understand? So in
I like that.
Yeah. in all, when I put everything together, is that these are the components that they don't have. And Ubuntu, I want to come to that one. That's why I was counting. Humility. They don't have that. You know, I was saying to these young kids yesterday, when a Caucasian walks into a building, they don't greet you. They tell you straight what they want, how selfish they are.
They walk away.
Where is office what? They don't greet you. After you told them, they just walk away. They don't even say thank you very much. That's how cruel they are. So it was easy for them to come here, you know, to come here and just take everything that belongs to us without, you know, one guy, I think it is a young chap by the name of Plachi. I think he's the same age with me. He says, this guy, imagine you are at the back of your house. Somebody walks in from the front door. Excuse me, anybody home? Anybody home? Then he finds that you are at the back, and then he says, this is my house, because I found nobody here. You were at the back, you were not in the house. He says, this is exactly what the Caucasian have done to the continent. You understand? So what they have done including, they then wiped everything that is connected with with God. And then they made us to worship a foundation, a kingdom that is filled with blood.
The Christian thing now.
What we call Christianity in their context, that was led by Christian crusades. Absolutely. So I don't connect with that in my life. So I have to go back to say, Singabantu abangoni, we are people who do not dwell into sin.
Purity of heart.
So those are the components. Then out of that, if I just want to emphasize this point. If we go back to the true Bible that we need to rewrite, as we are busy writing it, of humility, of ubuntu, then these are the components. If we can all remember how our grandparents, how they behaved, you would find out these are components of heaven, because God says if you do 1, 2, 3, then you'll have the access of coming back to heaven. But if you don't do those things, if you don't practice those things, then you are out of the space. So what we need to do is just to revisit that Bible and revisit the Old Testament. Let me tell you, when you go to Genesis, you'd find there are things that are right that can be utilized for
community
us,
building,
absolute community building, and for us to build this particular royal house or the kingdoms that we are talking about.
Wow, it's quoting quite a bit of reference there, and I'm glad some of you are Christians. And I think today you must be clapping hands and go, yay, the king is quoting our book, you know. But I guess many of us in the midst of obsession with the isms of Christianity and the isms of politics, Marxism, capitalism, Christianism, and all these things, we're forfeited and missed up an opportunity actually to learn the basic things. I passed a comment the other day, and I think I'm going to get beaten for it. Whereas I passed a comment that says, if the white man kills a black man, Jesus forgives the white man for killing the black man.
The white Jesus.
Yeah.
Yes.
But if a black man kills a white man, he's going to go to hell. Now, if colonialism was built on the Europeans' Christian principles and permission from their God to enslave the black people, because black people are pagans and their God, their Jesus, gave them permission to oppress the black people. Now, when we discover that we are the chosen, are we guilty when we get rid of those that have been oppressing us?
Getting rid, it depends in what context are we talking about. Let me come back to this one. I want to come back to that one. Because remember, we are people who do not dwell into sin.
Yes, sir.
We need not to have blood in our hands. Everything, anybody who does wrong to you, you hand that person to God. He will deal with it with his counsel, with his angels. You do not partake into sin. But I want to go back, in what you've just talked about. I was once in Israel, in Tel Aviv. You laugh at this one. I see this guy, a Jewish guy.
These guys who roll their hair on the side there. It's Ashkenaz.
I said, excuse me, sir. You know what I was looking for? I was looking at Golgotha, you saw. He said, excuse me, sir. He says, yes. Where can I find Golgotha? He says, there are 2 Golgothas here.
Okay.
I like that one. 2 Golgothas. Which one are you looking for? I said, excuse me, sir. Where Jesus was crucified.
Yes.
He says, I don't know, because there are 2. There's one outside, not far from where we are. You see this gate here outside. You see that place? It is designed like a face of the skull. In our language, Asian language, a face of the skull was referred as Golgotha. So, and then there's a tomb down there that was owned by a rich man. That's what he said.
Yes.
Then there's another Golgotha inside the old city. So I don't know which one you're looking for.
Howard.
I said, you are confusing me. He says, no. That's I was asking you 2 things. He then says to me, you guys, you do not cease to amaze me as black people. He says, you are the chosen, but you follow a history that is too far from you. He says, you are here now looking for, you call it pilgrimage. You are looking for something that is too far from you. He says, I am a Jew. I refer myself as a Zionist. Zionism came after when you guys were here, when a concept of Angoni, meaning, that was created on the continent. You are here. You are looking for something that is too far from you. He says, let me tell you, the day of the judgment, you are going to suffer. I said, what do you mean that I'm going to suffer? He says, all of you have regarded yourself as Christians, and then you have said, you have put a bath of water and you have washed away your culture, your traditions, and say, I have nothing to do with this. I am a born again, meaning I have to do with this culture and tradition. He says, there's one thing that you forget. The day of judgment, surnames, they work. He says, remember the same guy that you are calling upon, that you are looking for. Remember what he said? He says, I'm the son of David. So whose son are you? He was asking me, he says, whose son are you? He says, remember, when we pray, he said also, the same guy that you are looking for, who was sacrificed, crucified. According to his scripture, he says, this guy, I have gone through this New Testament. According to his scripture, somewhere at Gethsemane, he was having an engagement with Moses and Elijah. Who, those people, they never lived on earth. I said, they lived. He said, thank you very much. He says, let's continue for the last time. Everybody, God had a reason why he gives them surnames. The day of judgment, when they look for you at the gate, you are going to be called based on your surname. So you have washed away that. What is going to happen to you?
You have no access, Pete.
You have no access. He
stuck.
says, all of you, you'll be lingering here on earth. That's why you've got problems. That's why you are confused in Africa. I'm very sorry, I don't know you, but continue to be confused. He walked away.
My word. And that's from a Jew himself.
A Jew himself.
Let's go.
Oh, he was wearing a short pair. I'll never forget it. I still have his image. That guy, he killed me.
He walked away. Knocked you off and walked away.
Just walked away up.
Let's build a palace, my lord. Let's build a palace, my king.
No. Why I'm raising these things? These are things that makes us to be confused.
You are talking identity.
Absolutely.
You are saying
now, when you start somewhere, Ngonyama, you then understand that these are the components that I've made mention of. You need not to be confused as you are walking forward to build this particular palace and include, because umsamo You know, I made an example. I'm sorry, I just need to be very blunt today. When you refer yourself, mina Bhungane, makhulukhulu ndlebe zamile emntoni ngasotondos. When you want me to refer myself as uZulu, don't you think that you are insulting me? Because lapha emsamo lo esikhulume ngawo. When I pen in paper,
you don't burn it for Zulu?
Never, because Zulu does not know me. Now, immediately when I refer to people outside that I'm Zulu, I'm chasing away these guardian angels of your surname who are protecting you. Because they say, why should we protect Bhungane? Because he always refers himself as Zulu. He always refers himself as Ukrestu, because like Jesu, because I'm aligning myself not Jesu. How should I protect this person? They move away.
On a more lighter note, our ladies in Africa here, they are pleased kneeling down and praying, please Lord, may I have a husband. When they say Amen, someone is getting married in America. Someone is getting married. Yes. We are speaking in English.
Yes. Now I want
prayer goes where the language is.
but I want us to go back to there. Why are you saying I'm a born again Christian, but are you still keeping the same surname of the traditions that you have washed away?
Come on now.
Are you not confused?
That's a complicated one.
But when it suits you, I'm a born again.
So if you are born again, your surname must be Jesus.
Assume the new identity and the culture and the tradition.
I'm Bhungane Jesus.
Phuma lakithi la ngoba thina masiphahla sikhuluma ngalento angithi uthe wena uzenza lento zokuhlaba inkomo angizenza lento zokuchitha igazi angishisa impepha mina phuma ke kulezi zinto lezi zalesibongo.
Wow, this is getting,
I want to come back.
This is getting heated up, guys. If you say then you need to
assume a new identity with that surname. Angithi nina kunenhlelo nizenzayo nina lapha kwaKristu angithi hamba ngazo ke mabakuthelele oil lapha ngithi mabayenze lezi zinto zalapha ngithi angithi awusashisa impepha wena unegazi laka Jesu usifunelani lesibongo sangapha eshisa impepha danke lo muntu ene wena ukhuluma ngegazi laka Jesu. To me, the lay person on the street, that blood, it's a human blood. It means you deal with human sacrifice. You understand? I have a problem with that. Some people might differ with me, but I have a problem with somebody says,
that's which?
That's exactly what you're saying to people. It means there's something that is not right. And the I am the jealous God. Do not mix with me. People. Don't ask permission from another person to come to me. Come direct to me. Confusion. So I'm trying to put together all the components that forms this.
The spirituality of the palace. I hear.
Spirituality of the palace. Out of there, then you'll be able to understand, to say minang hambala, so that you don't become confused. uNkulunkulu ngisaphinda umkhulu mkhulu esazi ukuthi sonke ngisho naye uDlomo Nqangi will tell you to say I am not God but I pay allegiance to the Creator,
the one who created me. Wow.
So why are we confused today? We're putting things together as ingasi right. Today we are saying we're proudly whoever, but we forget to question, to say these kingdoms that we are talking about, what is the foundation of this kingdom?
These kingdoms.
You know what is their foundation?
Blood.
England, blood. And they even went to the extent of insulting God. The very same kingdoms that you are paying allegiance to, they create their own Bible that is called King James Version. Does King James, does he have authority to change the word of God? Problems. So we need to go back and say, which book that was written by God after Moses, the 10 commandments, which other commandments that were brought down by God? Don't come and tell me about King, who's this rubbish guy? What is his name? King James Rubbish.
Yes.
I don't read somebody. Who is he? Who was he? You understand? King James Version. What nonsense is that? Show me a Bible, because I pray to God, and the God that I'm praying is the jealous God.
And who is, and I like your question, because if you are saying who has authority, I mean, from my theological space, where you find that between the book of Ethiopia and the King James Version, there are 800 years gap.
Absolutely.
And so the book of Ethiopia is actually older by 800 years to the King James Version. And then you begin to understand that this one, the Ethiopian Bible, actually has more books than the King James Version. So some group of white people sat around and decided, okay, this book, yeah, it can go this way. This one, no.
Serve our own interests.
This one, no. And in some of those books, like the Book of Enoch,
absolutely,
then it goes to lengths to tell us actually that white people are children of demons. Maybe that's why they removed the books from the Bible, because how would you be preaching the gospel, telling people about Jesus, and the same Bible condemns you as a Caucasian that you are not actually the chosen of God. And now Ike comes around and rewrites the story of Enoch upside down to put themselves as the children of God, and yet the scriptures itself is clear. So we're in this whole confusion, and I want to respect your effort, Ngonyama. I want to respect your grand time that you are spending with us, because these quality of conversations are not happening.
Absolutely.
Are not happening. Absolutely. Immediately you begin to talk about canonization of the Bible, I know Christians who stand up and walk away. I'm not interested in anything. As long as they say the Bible says it, I'm settled. So what are you settled?
But which Bible are we talking about? We all agree to say, if it is a Bible that is connected with God, that was written by the Word of God, that is containing the Word of God, that is fine. I agree with you. Yes. We can't walk away from it.
But give me all of it.
But when you come and convince me with a Bible that was written by a piece of shit who was a nonsense guy, King James, then I walk away, because I have nothing to do with that person, because for him to become a king at that particular time, he used spears to kill. There was blood that was involved. Then where does he get the audacity?
Right, and we want to make it very clear that what the king is sharing here, these are his own personal views.
Yes.
These are not the views of the Galaxy Universal Network channel as a station. He's sharing his own opinions from the way he's looking at it, and sharing with us from his own royal platform. But feel free to tell us your opinions.
No,
and I think
these are my opinions, because I'm questioning these things, because I have studied an approach that says, before you agree to this drum, I like one of the leaders said, do you have authority to condemn or to say, this drum, it is not right, it is not good, meanwhile you do not know the components that formed this drum? He says, tell me first what were the components that formulated this drum? Then me and you can have a discussion, because you are informed of this one. Now, when you talk,
and worse, when you don't even have a drum yourself.
Absolutely.
Then you come around and start criticizing my drum.
Absolutely.
Then I said, this one is mine. Bring yours.
Now, if really everybody wants to go to heaven, I mean, just a layman, everybody wants to go to heaven end of the day. Why do we have Jews who are believing in Judaism and we regard them as the first people who are chosen people? Why are they not saying, hey, we need to move away from that and come to Jesus Christ, Christianity, so that this is the way, it is the only way? Why are we having Indians who are still praying whatever? Why we've got Chinese? All these people.
World religions, yeah.
It simply says there's a problem. Now, this guy says, who told me about the component, he says, before you engage into something, you must first apply this particular science. He calls it looking at the disadvantages and the advantages of a particular thing that you are engaging yourself into. He says what you do, you analyze it into pieces. and then after that you do what we call synthesis. You synthesize everything, then your answer will come out. I mean, let us be logic on this. Let's not be fools, you know. Somebody tells you a story, then you just accept, you know.
And once people accept that story,
Absolutely.
which could be true or false,
Absolutely.
you come around a few weeks later and you find that poison is already inside. Then they want to argue with you, not on the basis of logic and thinking, but on the arguing on the basis of who has told them the lies first.
Let me tell you this thing. We all have a common objective. We all agree that God does exist. I agree. But the question that I differ with these people is when they bring somebody's Bible who is referred as King James Version. I have a problem with that. When you say
the colonization, let me actually use proper academic language.
Yes.
The colonization of Christianity, then the colonization of the iconography of Jesus, the colonization even of making him white, the colonization of culture, the colonization of taking white images and white idols and making them saints, and now making the Christian community that believe in Jesus, and indirectly by accepting Jesus, you are accepting the rosary, you are accepting Mary, the white one, you are accepting the white Jesus, you are accepting St. Peter. Before you notice it, there you are sitting in a church, and there is a man hanging on a picture somewhere. And then you ask yourself, is this the religion?
But again, it becomes a contradiction.
Because the Bible says, don't make yourself
Yes,
any graven images.
It's never. That's what the Bible says.
Chapter 20.
Absolutely. That's Old Testament, isn't it?
Old Testament.
It says, do not.
Do not.
Do
so
not put
why do you think
Yes.
the black people allowed the white people to make the Jesus? How does a black man leave Africa and go to Europe and come back white with blue eyes and blonde hair?
And then people would say, the cross, it was what? Something, it says you must carry. I can't carry that thing because that was an invention of the Romans. That cross, where they kill people. How can I carry something that is surrounded with darkness?
And the Ku Klux Klans, whatever, the KKK,
They use that.
they also carry the cross.
Yeah. So I don't associate myself with that. I agree with a concept, and rightly said that these are my opinions. Please educate me, whoever that is watching this. Maybe if I'm confused, please come to me. Do not fight me. Sit down with me. Put me to a class. Educate me. What I know, even is written in the Bible, that somewhere Jesus went to Abyssinia. Where's Abyssinia? It's in Ethiopia. To go and study this Christianity. When I was there with one of the ministers of South Africa, when we were taking around a tour in Ethiopia, they show us a Christian Bible that was 2,000 years before Christ existed. They put it here. This is the trial. They put gloves. They said it's how big it was.
Yeah. There is it.
Now, and then they continue to say
2,000 years
before Christ existed.
Before even Christ was born.
Then they explained, we didn't say, whoa, you are confusing us now. They said, no, you are confusing things. He came here in Abyssinia. He says, one thing that you must look at, he could mingle around Abyssinia. If he was white, he would be detected, meaning he was black. He says, number two, he came to study.
Yes.
This philosophy.
Let me actually put it in fact, because when you look at the birth of Yeshua, the birth of Jesus, as you commonly call him, and then Herod was in power, and Herod is a Roman, and the Romans are the Europeans. Now, the Europeans, the only time they appear in the Bible, they appear as murderers, they appear as criminals. Even we see them as Herod. Next time we see them as Roman soldiers on the crucifixion of Jesus. And the last time we see them is when Paul says, I want to come and preach to the Gentiles.
Yes.
And by the word Gentile, he was meaning Rome.
That's true.
There's no word in the Bible that says the Africans are actually Gentiles. But that's not where the argument is.
Absolutely.
Now, at the age of between 1 and 2 there, Then Herod one day, we heard that the Messiah is dead, wanted to go and kill him. So he sends people to go and hunt for this Jesus. And an angel came to him and says, take him to Abyssinia.
Abyssinia. And then in Abyssinia, that's where he went to school. And then he exceeded, maybe it's not the right word because excelled.
Yes.
Became the best student to engage onto this divine connection philosophy. And then he was then bestowed what we refer as degrees today, bestowed with a degree that is called Christianity. You understand?
While you're on that, he spent 12 years.
Yes.
Then, by the age of 12, when he came back to Israel, and he sat with the elders in the council. Now Christianity gets excited there. He was a young boy.
Yes.
And he sat
so informed.
He sat with the professor.
Yes.
And he told them things.
Yes.
And now the text admits that they all looked at each other and said, but this, you did not go to any of our schools.
So, any of our schools.
How do you know all these things?
Yes.
The question is, if he had not been to Abyssinia,
you would never know these things.
you would never know this thing. Number two, the knowledge of Abyssinia was superior.
Because these were the first creation. And these are the people who came on earth. Now we are talking about how you rebuild
A kingdom.
Absolutely.
Connect with truth.
Absolutely.
Connect with truth.
Absolutely.
So you cannot build. So I heard Chiluba the other day in Zambia, before he became president, opens up the Bible and says, I declare Zambia as a Christian nation. You look around and say, okay, you declare them as a Christian nation. And after, immediately when you put the Bible down, the Chinese are buying all your country. So is there a blessing in that?
No.
Maybe at the end of the day, we needed to learn how to build on truth.
Absolutely.
Rather than building things on lies. It's getting hot, it's getting heated up in here. I hope you are smart enough. We are discussing our own things, but you run on the parallel sidelines and pick up these concepts and put them around. Remember your package as to what you are made out of. Remember the value of your personal sanctuary, where you can connect with the divine. And he has just brought up another element now. You cannot build a palace or build a home based on lies. It's nice for you to say, I got the blood of Jesus, I got the blood of this. But something I learned also today, if you really believe in Christianity, then maybe the Catholics did a good job.
And
change
then,
your name
and then,
and change your surname also.
And then in that environment where you say the blood of Jesus, you go and connives with sinners. Abahlebayo lapha, you know. Then when you come out, you walk very tall with that uniform. Meanwhile, you know that deep down, because it has to start with your heart. It has to start with your soul, because the soul, if it's not clean, you'll never connect. Because you know why? We are all borrowed this spirit by God. Then when uhamba uhleba ukhuluma izinto ezimbi ngalo moya lo, how then do you expect at the end of the day you'll return to heaven?
When we come back after the break, we'll just move over into some practical stuff, the real physical architecture of how a palace is made. Where do you put your bedroom? Where do you put your grandmother's house? Where do the boys stay? I think he touched a little bit about the crawls and etc. I just want to get maybe a bigger picture of the infrastructure itself. Then after the break, we hear you live with you at King Bhungane. Don't go away. We'll be back right after this.
Hello. Being a legal practitioner in South Africa in these challenging times demands lawyers that will help clients beyond legal issues. The ever-changing demands in commerce and tourism require lawyers who have sound and clear business and commercial knowledge, and that's where MB Chabangu Incorporated comes in. Our business, mining, tourism, health, labor, and economic knowledge encapsulated with law and litigation experience gives us an advantage in the legal sphere. Our experience in assisting businesses, government, and various industries with their needs puts us amongst the many progressive and striving law firms in South Africa. Now, to contact our attorneys for assistance with any of the mentioned fields and others, please call us on 012-341-4187 or send us an email on admin@chabangu.co.za. MB Chabangu Incorporated, where problems meet solutions.
China's saying that the latest outbreak is under control.
Feel the heat.
The cabinet has decided to ease restrictions on certain other economic activities.
I don't want to be a white person who sits by and does nothing, so that's why I'm here today.
Feel the excitement.
We are here to unite, because what we are fighting for is to stop institutional racism.
Feel the heat with StarSat.
The Bible tells us of a story of a man who built his house upon the sand and another man built his house upon the rock. When the floods and the storms came, beautiful storyline. The house that was standing on the sand fell to pieces and its history was found in the dam. But the house that was built on the rock stood strong and firm. Even after the storm, the man could stand up in front of his house and stretch his hands. The secret, therefore, is not the cosmetics of the building that sustains you during the moments of trouble. It is the foundation of the building that sustains you. And some of you might be feeling very uncomfortable when we begin to hear some of these discussions that are taking place. And if you feel that you are losing faith, then maybe you don't have faith at all, because we're testing the foundation. And while you're watching us from wherever you are, your comments are being flown on live on the TV here. The young boys did not give me my computer today here to be reading. I would have been happy to read some of your comments and give you your feedback. And while we're there, Ngonyama, we are excited. How do we rebuild strong foundations so that our kingdoms, our governments, our hospitals, our schools can actually be founded, our kingdoms can be founded on the rock?
I like your opening now on this session. A man who builds a house on top of the sand, a man who builds a house on top of the rock. To me, the rock are these components that I've just spoken about.
Yes, sir. But yet,
out of those components, you are able to also lift up one of the key components. You know what is that component? The word of the Creator, the word of God. Because if you utilize that, it becomes the way of life in your family. It becomes the way that guides you in terms of behavior, in discipline, culture, traditions. It defines who you are. The way of the Creator, the way of God. That word, because it makes your children, it makes yourself to be humble, to be disciplined, to be people who do not fear God, but who respects God.
Respect Him.
I don't fear God because God is somebody who becomes my friend. Because if you understand those components that I've made mention of you, being elevated onto the spiritual world or realm, you would understand that you end up becoming the friend of God, rather than
an enemy of God.
Absolutely. So you don't fear your friend, but you love your friend, you respect your friend. You end up having this component that defines you in terms of your behavior towards.
I want to build upon the comment you passed on earlier on, Ngelenge, where you actually mentioned the melanin.
Yes.
And the quality of ethics, morality, humility, love, compassion, community, that the black people have. So over and above having a literal physical book that you can open and say, Sivula Deuteronomy chapter 15, Sivula Exodus, no Leviticus, no Proverbs. This book actually, as you are saying, lives in us. This is Ubuntu.
You are the church. You are the foundation. You are that rock because it is built upon these points that we've just made mention of, that connects with God. Because if your foundation is then made out of that, then I'm telling you, your house is not going to...
It's not going to last.
Absolutely. No. It's going to last if it
was on the rock.
Yes, but on the sand it's not going to last because you are living in a false life. You know. Then you have asked me something that is very important. How do you build in terms of structures in that particular place?
How must it look?
Remember, when you build a house, it must face the sun, where the sun comes from.
Wow. Number one.
All your rooms or your rondables or your doors must be facing the sun.
First rule.
2, you must understand the rooms that you will be building, that will then finalize in you calling that home as isigodlo.
Palace.
Indlu. Yeah, because you don't own a house. You'll never own a house. That house that you'll be living at, it belongs to who?
It belongs to your forefathers.
Your forefathers, whom are connected with who? With God.
With God.
And connects with you. You don't own anything, you don't own anything. And then in those houses that you're going to be building, these are houses that are going to be building in Rugakoko.
So what if the first house you must build? First.
It's very critical. When you said earlier on, Unkosi, gas, Inkosi, gas. Then you build land, but there should be a house where you are going to be sleeping. You know which house is that? A connector. Okay. You don't sleep with a woman in that room.
Right.
Never.
Go slowly now. This is where we are starting to. This is where we separate the boys from the men now. So, in Gabokoko is the first one.
Yes.
Then you build yourself.
It's not your house. It's the house of the Lord.
Yes, but that is where you sleep.
You sleep. Because why? You must always get this information that must be relayed to you. And there in that room,
no woman comes in.
No boys, they just walk into that house. Unless if there's a designated young boy who is going to be chosen.
Can you remove this for me?
To enter the space, because that is a sacred space. It's a space where God would want to communicate with you.
So basically, that's your sanctuary.
Absolutely.
That's the private space where a king must have privacy.
Because when you sleep there, information must be relayed to you at night, during the day, whatever. It's a place that is sacred. Then you have indlu abomkhulu. You see abogogo, eyakho lapha, then yabomkhulu. Then you will then honor omalume. You'd honor
your uncles.
Yes. Then you'll honor those who lived before you and say la kusekhaya, la kugabogogo, because you don't own a house when.
Wow.
You don't own a home.
So we've just gotten the first three that are very critical.
Yes.
First one, Nyabokoko.
Yes.
The second one, that is that is your communication channel.
Umsamo ke lo.
That's your umsamo.
Yeah, umsamo ke lo ophethe yonke into.
That's where you connect.
Absolutely.
Then the other one is for the uncles.
Absolutely.
Right. No, and by the way, you heard it well. The women don't sleep in the private room where the king must spend his time connecting.
Now, lonkosikazi wakho na umakhela indlu yakhe.
That's number 4 now.
Wakhela ingane indlu yabo ilawulabo lenkani. So that mawuzovakasha kule ntombazana or kulonkosikazi wakho, rather call it unkosikazi. Mawuzovakasha, you don't just wake up and say ngiyovakasha lapha. You ask permission
to go there.
To go
from
there.
Your msamo.
From your msamo to say bengicabanga ukuthi ngenza ukuthi ngizocela impendulo. I would seek your guidance and your permission to go and enter my wife, if it is permissible to do so. And then the answer will come to you, say it is okay, because when you go there, remember there's a purpose why you are going there. You are not just going for fun,
for entertainment.
There's a seed that you need to plant there. So it's very important that you
get clearance.
You get clearance. So, and then after you have done that, remember there's another house, a room, where before you go back to that room, the sacred place, when you have finished doing that business, the next 3 days, you must go and sleep in that house. The other one. What is it you are doing in that house? You are cleansing yourself for you to be able to return to that particular room, house that is sacred.
Wow. Wow. Quite a lot of information to chew in one sentence there. So you ask for permission prior to departure.
Yes.
You go do your things.
Yeah, your business.
When you are done with the business, you don't come back here directly.
No, you don't.
You go back to a holding room.
A holding room.
Where you must have some herb clinic.
To cleanse. You go to the river with a certain herb or medicine to go and cleanse yourself, so that when you go back there, then you are able to reconnect.
That brings me to really a big issue on the morality of kings.
Yes.
The way you are saying it, then kings actually are not as promiscuous as they pretend and as they act to be, because the process of just going in and out and the amount of time it takes you to go back again to the same room, possibly we may need to understand that maybe even polygamy becomes a luxury.
It becomes now when you listen to the story, I was told by my one of my father's brother, he tells me a story to say, why Bhungane II had 400 wives? He said the reasons were he wanted to make peace with these other kings, so that whenever they want to attack him, they cannot attack him, because they know that their daughters they are there, and their daughters have actually brought children there, so there's no need for them to attack. He says it was a strategic move.
It was a military strategy.
Absolutely.
Even in Britain, they do the same. I mean, the queen supported the Queen of London.
Yes.
The king is from Germany.
Yes.
And then so Germany and Britain, you can't kill each other. You guys are cousins. And then the Netherlands was created. Belgium was created by the two other royalties. So marriage has been used for the longest part also as a political tool.
But when you speak about polygamy. One scholar was sharing this thing with me. He says a polygamy, in some instance, it happens that when there is a crisis, where you see a young daughter somewhere, in the family they are not well off, then they will then discuss with you, with your family, to say, I think you need to assist this particular people for 1, 2, 3, and then they will end up, you know, saying to you, Tata Lonkoskazi. But in the true sense of spirituality,
it's a different ballgame.
It's a different ballgame.
It's a different ballgame.
You understand? Some people would be selfish, using it for their own goals, you know, whatever purposes, and just have a lot of women, you know.
Let's take a detour. Let's take a quick shot left and maybe explain also how polygamy used to happen in the days past. Just as a concept. Because I think many of our young people these days who are in a hurry to just hear that polygamy and they want to jump into it and without knowing exactly how was it practiced. We've just raised one issue in the case of poverty, for example, and another illustration, one or two.
You know, another one would be, you know, there would be a situation where somebody will never, like maybe your wife will never be bear children. And then they will then decide to say, as a nation, I think we need to look for another divine wife for you, so that she is able to do that. That's one. The other one would be, you know, when a nation decides to say, we have to look for a wife because they can see tension between the two of you, then they would find somebody in Zohleisana and somebody who would be their wife. They refer
it is their wife.
It's their wife. It's not your wife.
Yeah, but they render to you.
Absolutely.
Sort of.
So that what you do, uzokwazi ukukhulisa isibongo lesi. Because, for an example, names, for an example, I just want to just quickly take a detour, come back. Names, today we don't understand why we are having names. In our homes, we have a name called James. We don't even know this James, where does it come from? We have Daphne, we don't even know this Daphne, where is the originality of Daphne? Now, in the ancient times, what they would do, they would say, umntwana makafika fanele avuse isibongo or igama lakabantu bani owandlula emhlabeni. I'll tell you, for an example of myself. What they did, they had to do a ritual for me to resuscitate Bhungane traditionally. Why Bhungane? Because Bhungane wants to come back on earth to do certain things, but unfinished business, but he needs to what we call reincarnation to do these things. Then there was a ritual that was done, and this ritual was to resuscitate, but at the same time to restore and cleanse his clothes. You see what I'm wearing? It's not mine. I borrow these clothes from him because it's the one that as I exist today. The day they did a ritual, I ceased to exist. So they need to now resuscitate this person because he lives inside me. Now, and then that person will then be referred as Bhungane. Then we look at what is it that Bhungane used to have in the past and what is it used to do. Then you are now the reincarnation, you have assumed this new identity. So in those cases, you'd find that they would want to ukuthi tata umntana kaSibani ayovusa umuzi othize so that kuzoba nesibongo esithize.
I mean, that's the same story we had the other day of the Shubis, the story of the
ulomahlubi angenwa uhadebe angena unkosikazi kamfowa ekhaya. That's exactly.
Yes.
But the mistake they did, these guys, I'll call them these guys, they then elevated this woman obekavusa umuzi
to the status.
And then they decided to call this nation. They forgot to do what? To go back and say, what was the name of our nation? Two, this person who has given us a child, yes, thank you very much, but we need this particular person. What you need to do is to continue with this legacy.
While you're on that, Bayete, let me be mischievous a little bit, as I always am. There's a story also in the Bible, where you find a brother marries, there are two brothers, and a brother marries And after marrying, then he dies.
Yes.
And leaves no child.
Yes.
Then the Lord
comes.
The Lord comes and says to the brother who remained, go in to the house of your brother and continue his surname. I want to come to that because there's something very important that I think the greater Hlubi and the Shuama Hlubi, Namampondo Mise, they need to understand this concept deeply.
Absolutely.
Go in there and continue the surname of your brother. The reality, Africa understands that. Because when you are going in the house of your brother, the children that you make in that house
are not your children.
But
are not your children. Now remember in the,
once and for all.
Absolutely.
Because I think they have received lots of messages.
One last there is Hatebe, who's the younger brother of Ngobo. Not Ngobo. Ngobo, whenever he has children, he had wives, different wives. Unamed Yasekatini. Yamakate. Lababongobo namhlanje.
Yes.
Yasekade amakade le yindlu ekuthiwa kubhekwa kuyo ukuthi uma ngazange kube nengane ngapha izolandwa ngapha. But the nation then decided to say no. Asingayilanda ekadeni lendlu lengane ezobusa.
Yes.
There's the younger brother.
Yes.
Makangene
umama
lo. The name of this woman, her name is Lo, because we never use no.
Lo.
The current Ndebeles of Zimbabwe, they use that language.
Yeah.
Lo.
Yeah.
Lo Mahlubi, who's the daughter of a nation called Amapele. Then they agree. Lo Mahlubi. Then a child
was born.
Then his name was then referred as Khomo the second. Then Khomo was then told as he was growing up to say, Hatebe is not your father, because there was an agreement. Uzongena unyoko. Engena unyoko kanje. Bekazalela ubaba wakho. Njalo lo bekathi makunale heir to the throne endlini yakhe ayibulale. So when you are now here to continue his legacy, then Hateb had an agreement. He understood the agreement. Never fought.
We are not. You're not my son.
He understood that Hateb was not a king. Hateb, when the coronation was done, he packed his bags
and walked away
and went to the Eastern Cape. That's how you find a lot of Hatebes in the Eastern Cape. And some of them went up, because that Hatebe could be the second Hatebe, because when you go there, Hatzabe people in Tanzania.
Yeah.
But this Hatebe went to the Eastern Cape. Then this one remained. Now the problem that they did, these guys, I would refer them as these guys, because if they understood history, they understood the context of that Hatebe was then just to plant a seed and move away. They then referred themselves with this woman from Emapeleni, Ulo Mahlubi. Meanwhile, their nation was called what? Amampembe, Wasembo. That's where the problem started.
Now they've Amahlubi.
There's no nation that absolutely. That's why there is this confusion, and that's why there are things that are not coming together, because their foundation is wrong.
One more time.
Their foundation is wrong. I'm still repeating it. Their foundation is wrong. Because if they go back to the drawing board, they will understand what before Uhatebe angena lonkosikazi, what was this nation called?
Yes.
That's why they should ask it themselves.
Amampembe.
Asembo. Because Mpembe originates from Congo. There's this tree that they used to wear when they dance. It's called Bembe trees, and people then referred to them as Amapembe. Then later, when the language was was growing, they then referred as amampembe.
You still have bembas,
Absolutely.
Which is actually similar.
Then amampembe lawa asembu.
Wow. I think that clears quite a bit of dust, and some of you, my friends here, solid foundations. We are learning how to build. We're building our tabernacles or for our forefathers. I see some of your comments here on my Facebook page here. Keep writing them and keep sharing with us. And others are also saying, I'm building the palace of my grandfather Nokolo. Yo. Many contradictions in this religion thing that we are learning about today. Henry Molly, through our own ancestors, and Umtunzi, Nwelakazi, Bhungane, I would like to check with you, what is your analysis of King Shaka as the great prophet, as the king of the living kings, as well as the King Tachwayo, who was thrown into the lion's den, yet called those lions his father's cats, just like the story is related. So we covered a bit of Shaka, but for the purpose of the question,
please do not crucify me.
No.
I'm going to share what I was told by my elders. They said there was this young boy who was born from a family Kamhlongo. And this boy, the mother was Unandi. Unandi ebeka gula phethwe isifo kuthiwa uShaka. Later, this woman was then married to a chief, not a king, a chief by the name of Senzangakhona. But the little did they realize, or they made a mistake, that Senzangakhona, when he married this woman, he came from the initiation school. His thing was not 100%
working.
So the stomach was keep on growing. Then Senzangakhona never liked this child because he says it is a son that is born out of wedlock. So as he was growing, he was chastised, this boy. They used to chase him away. He then Dingiswayo, whom we raised, Kotongwan, he was the relative of the Mhlongos. He brought the child to our homestead of Bhungane. The boy grew up. That's why Shaka, if you see his images, he was dressed up like the way I am. What we call Utili.
I have my own deal today.
Not no. And then the same guy, Ushaka, he grew up in an environment where he was seeing how warriors were being molded. Out of that, Shaka then understood to say, you don't use a long spear, you use
that short spear is an invention of Bhungane.
Of Bhungane, and then the Internalizing comes from the Bhunganes. That's why when you understand to say, when you create the friendship with God, God will then relate a secret, will tell you of the trees, that this tree can do 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That's how we were. We were the most powerful warriors in the continent. Lababa namhlanje kuthiwa amarasta namhlanje abashiyama dreadlocks. These are called in the ancient times. And then Shaka grew up into that. Then he was then later chased out of our homestead because he wanted to sleep with a young girl. Then Shaka was never welcomed and coronated or done a ritual like it was done to Kotongwan. Then that's how Shaka left. Absolutely. But he would always come to us. Let me tell you, when Dingiswayo came to our homestead, after he left our homestead, he was killed by the Ndwandwes. Shaka came to us and asked for the warriors and the Ntelezi to go and fight the Ndwandwes. Okay? So Shaka, little did we realize that Shaka had his own intentions of rebuilding his own.
And you made your hands there a little bit also.
We did.
As the Bhunganes.
But we did wash, absolutely. But we are now left with one skoloto.
Yeah.
You know what is that? We need to go and cleanse that skoloto. Because the mother of Bhungane II was a daughter of the Ndwandwes. We were very angry to say, how can you kill our visitor? It means you disrespect attacked us. That's how we ended up going to fight into that space. But in the true sense, that is how that kingdom was destroyed. It was not destroyed by Shaka, it was destroyed by us. He used us to destroy. Then after
well, the soldiers were from you.
Absolutely.
The intelligence was from you.
They were
from you.
They were commanded by a chief of the warriors, what we call a army commander. His name was Umakata Kamtambo Kalhugas. They were commanded by him. We destroyed that. Then Shaka then went to the Dingiswayos and says, Wamtetwa, that man who was here, who was in charge, is no longer here. I'm in charge. He consolidated. Then he went to his father. His father knew that his stick, it belonged to Skujani. Skujani was his child. When Shaka arrived and said, Ngizocela indugu, meaning indugu, part of the component of you building the house as the father, you must have a stick that you put emsamo lapha, lendlu izokulwela nezitha. When you are to leave this planet Earth, you hand over this ndugu to the heir to the throne. Because God would have told you, this stick must be given to this one. So Shaka was looking for that. Why? Because he wanted authority. Because he could not command the Zulu, the Zulus without that stick. When he went to Senzangakona, and then Senzangakona told him to say, this stick, it belongs to Skujani, not you. He went and killed Skujani. He came back. When he did that, Senzangakona heard that Skujani has been killed. I'm told he died with heart attack. Then Shaka took the stick. Then he put together what we refer to there as a Zulu kingdom.
Let me ask a simple question, but difficult.
Yes.
Do you remember from history Shaka being inaugurated as a king?
That's what I'm saying. It's a good question. In the ancient days, there was only one man who used to do the rituals for you to become a king. It was Bhungane. There's a river up to today, not far from Danahausa. They call it Bhungane's river. That's where he used to do rituals. Everybody would come to him to do this particular, because he's the one who's given this gift. And that's the man who lives inside me. That's what I'm doing even now.
The other day, it was quite interesting to notice that your grandfather actually inaugurated King Nyambose.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And as early as our generation, we've seen the young son again, the prince himself, Nyambose, coming to you for inauguration.
Yeah.
It's almost like 200 years in repetition.
Now, what does it mean? It means the stamp, it is with me up to today, because I'm a reincarnation of that man. You understand?
The duplication.
Absolutely. Now, that's why when in those ancient times, if you were not coronate, done the ritual prepared by Bhungane, you will never be referred as a king wherever you are. You understand? Because we had what? That medicine to do the ritual for you to be inaugurated. And that ritual, we do it in the river, but I cannot tell you the formulas because they belong to me.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And when even if you die,
my son is ready.
Your son
already
will resurrect.
No, let me tell you what happened. I went and bought something like this for my son. His name is Makoswetive. I was given that name in my dream to say, you're going to have a child. His name is Makoswetive. This is who I am. I said, okay, Cosmetive. I said, but there's a king in Swaziland. Why? He says, no, my name is Makoswetive. And then I bought something like this. I wanted to give him so that when we have our gatherings, he must wear something. Immediately when I bought it, hardly 2-3 weeks, then the voice comes and says, do not dress him with that. He's the one who's chosen after you. He's going to take over. You must dress him in this particular manner. He has his own regalia. One day, we were at the palace. We were making a joke.
Yeah.
We just teased him. As we were preparing chiefs and kings at the palace, we were dressing up for an occasion. He walked in, Kosi. Very quiet, tall chap. I think you saw him last time. We said, hey, Kosi, we've forgotten your regalia. He said, if that is the case, then I'm not getting outside. I'm not going outside. I'll be here until you guys finish in the room. I said, no, we are joking. Your regalia is in that suitcase. He said, Daddy, do not joke like that, because this is very sensitive what you've just said to me. So what does it say? It says this boy
is already here.
Absolutely. Yeah. So in this case, I know who's the one.
Okay.
Even if you kill him, God is going to give you another one.
Yeah.
Because you will never finish God's work.
We'll be back right after the break and read some few comments that are coming and they're pouring in here. Thank you very much for passing information to us. That's from Baleka Boyana, Patrick Mashele, Zulu, Elpe Zulu. I don't know what that means now. Nkunzi, thank you very much, Nkunzi Maponga. We've just read some of your comments here on the platform. There are quite a number of you, more than 200 comments plus here. I will not be able to go through all of them, but we appreciate your support. After the break, we'll come and finish up our palace and pick up the king again on some few issues pertaining to how do we begin to build these royal palaces as we're building our homes also. So far, we've built up into Koko, Saka into Eyako, where you must commune. Saka indlu yabo malume no saka indlu yankosikazi. We learned also ukuthi inkosi ayilali esifubeni somfazi. Okokokokoko uyavakasha pha, you visit there,
and umfazi umbeki phezulu.
Asizoyikhuluma ke leyo. Akuyibambe ke leyo. We'll be back after the break. It's getting a bit graphic in here.
Later.
Feel the heat.
Hold on. To make it through this journey alive, you're gonna need someone to teach you the ninja way.
Don't just stand there, kill someone!
Feel the excitement. Feel the heat with Starsat. Challenge your ordinary. Experience the extraordinary.
Not only the government, the municipality here has had no plan.
Now, I believe that my peace is my most valuable asset.
Absolutely beautiful!
This is exactly what I was looking for!
DJ Khaled!
It is a day to celebrate.
We're ready for action.
I like it when it's nice and soft. Yeah, that is nice.
How was it like growing up in Nigeria? Yes, sir, you know what it is.
Feeling is there that, you're doing something special.
Stop being so dramatic, Mira.
You should just be what you want to be.
Experience the extraordinary with Starsat.
Hello. Being a legal practitioner in South Africa in these challenging times demands lawyers that will help clients beyond legal issues. The ever-changing demands in commerce and tourism require lawyers who have sound and clear business and commercial knowledge, and that's where MB Chavangu Incorporated comes in. Our business, mining, tourism, health, labor, and economic knowledge encapsulated with law and litigation experience gives us an advantage in the legal sphere. Our experience in assisting businesses, government, and various industries with their needs puts us amongst the many progressive and striving law firms in South Africa. Now, to contact our attorneys for assistance with any of the mentioned fields and others, please call us on 012-341-4187 or send us an email on admin@chabangu.co.za. MB Chabangu Incorporated, where problems meet solutions.
last time. Many of you did not know actually King Bhungane is a drummer, a professional drummer. Maybe give us a little bit of a teaser on that. He's a musician, and there's something with royalty. It's not just about carrying spears and swords, and these things make you human. They make you spiritual. Find something to do. And today on your show, we've been building this palace for you. And with lots of information has been dished out there, the designs of the buildings themselves, which ones do you build, which one do you start with, above everything also your spirituality, how do you prepare yourself, and how do you run your relationships in the greater space of royalty. And some of you might be watching this and be scratching yourself and wondering what the hell is happening today. Don't worry, the day you will need this information, you will need it, and you will need it greatly. And for that reason, we will share it and keep it somewhere else. You never know until your spirit and your roots finally find you. Some of you choose your paths. Some of us, our paths choose us. You can run and run and run until they catch up with you. Right. I think we're saying something very, very nice, and in terms of the relationships between a king and his wife. And I cut you short just before the break on. A woman cannot sit on a king.
It's two things. I was taught these things. A king needs to do away with, when they have the engagement, you don't bring your wife on top. You are ceased to exist after that. You don't go at the back. You cease to exist. You've killed the kingdom. You finish it.
Even there are rules of sexuality.
Absolutely, there are rules. Absolutely.
I mean that okay. I want before we can move to maybe the ways, because I think we want to end up the show today on general behavior and how a king must carry himself and some of that basic knowledge. But before we get there, I wanted just maybe to pass by one very important building that we spoke about, which happens in the month of September. And there are some posters that we have seen actually flying around South Africa from King Zwelithini. We already know there's something coming up from King Mswati also. But in the midst of these many buildings, we hope you can already hear your kraal is in place where your cattle are. Remember, your kraal must be big enough because that's where kings get buried, in their own homesteads.
Absolutely.
And you know that your house is there. It is there, and your Queen Mother, sometimes when she's still alive within a homestead, you build something for her also on the side. But I want us to move also into the Khotla, this kraal, in the line that we already spoken. Just a revision on this one in terms of the reeds that are collected to build up the sacred chambers for community conversation.
Remember when you spoke about Lomo Ngangi, Lomo the First, who came out of the rivers or the waters next to the reeds, next to the tomb. Remember, he came out of the river wearing a leopard skin, covered with a leopard skin. He was then later referred as Inkosi Yomhlanga ngoba udabuka ngasemhlangeni. Remember, water has to do with purity.
Yes, sir.
The reeds that we are talking about, it is nothing else but remembering our founding father. When we have the reed dance, umkhosi womhlanga, that's how it's been referred. Umkhosi, sikupa umkhosi womhlanga, meaning we remember the person who gave life to all of us, and that person is the link to heaven. He was the creator by the creator was brought to be the custodian. We are his continuation on earth. Be it a boy, be it a girl, but we still have the same blood that ran into his system. So when we gather in that particular, it does not happen in one day. It's a process, because for us to go, for these young maidens to go and cut that particular reed, it does not just happen to say they will just come back or come at the palace that day. They will then say, this is the reed, this is how I am, hey, Mina, I'm a virgin. No, it does not work that way. This is how it works. There is a ceremony that is being prepared, a ritual that is been undergone
before they go to the
river, is conducted by the clean one spiritually. Who do I mean by the clean one? People who do not have blood in their hands, because remember, Khomo has to do with purity. He came out of the waters, the rivers, next to the reeds. So you, who has to go and seek permission from God to say, we are seeking permission from you, the Creator, and you who lived before us, Khomo, we are seeking permission to remember you and honor you. And therefore, please guide us if it is the right time to do it. You'll come back and say, yes, do it. In the correct manner. And
the king must go in his small little place there again.
Because he's going to go into what? Into seclusion.
Yes.
And that seclusion, that's the part where he's going to be now engaging and connecting with the Creator. Secret. You don't see him. He's just underground until he uses water, he uses things to cleanse himself for that particular period when it arrives. Because why? At that particular day,
when Mshanga is being conducted,
before the
it needs to find him.
Absolutely, it needs to find him. Clean. But before he arrives at that particular point, then there is a word that goes around into the
village, in the community,
to say it is right for you to go and cut, because we have seek permission
from the king.
From God.
But through the
absolutely. Now that message has been passed around. Then they're able to go, but they go there understanding that also as they are going to go there as young maidens, they are clean spiritually. They are clean so that they are able to go and cut. Because if they don't do it in that manner, taboo is going to happen. As you see in Adam Shangas, they'll come back and they will have accidents and what, because it's not properly done. Then, when that day comes, he knows with his royal council.
So when the young maidens are cutting,
yes,
the king is cleansing himself.
At that particular point.
No.
He cleans himself prior, and then he connects with the gods. Then the gods will then tell him it is now the time to go and cut. But once they are going to cut, he continues in that seclusion, in that stage, until to this particular day, today, to receive
them.
Then when that day arrives, they would go with the royal council prior to that arrival day to prepare a place for these reeds to be handed over. And that's where he will meet these maidens, not at the stadium, but at the sacred place where he would be meeting them. And then they don't enter, but he waits for them at the entrance, and then he receives them, and then he takes them to that particular place. After he has received all of them, they then go as the royal council, and then they pledge to the god.
They
submit. After submitting, then they come and says, we then have a permission to celebrate. That's how the reed dance, the reed dance happens.
And now the reeds, what do you use them for?
This is something that has to do with sacracy. As I said, it's a sacred environment. It could be some of them used for chairs, what we use for what, but something that has to do with the palace. Because remember, the palace, it is a place where you get life. That's why you'd hear people to say, when I go to the palace, when I come back, I was healed. Because it is a sacred place. It is not a place where everybody plays around. That's why they would use it for other purposes, based that is connected with
God.
Absolutely.
Okay. So in the event, you can also use it for the Lekgotla.
The Lekgotla.
The meeting place.
We have something like that, where now the Lekgotla, not everybody enters into that. That is the Lekgotla of the Royal Council that is clean spiritually.
Made up by clean reeds. From clean maids.
Yes.
With a clean king.
Yes. Now, a lot of people, what do they do? Because they don't understand these things. They then go and teta amacala lapa. You bring in somebody who has committed an abomination. You bring him there. What is going to happen to your nation? You finish.
So where do you discuss these issues then?
There must be a place outside the palace.
Where you discuss?
Because this person is dirty. How do you bring a dirty person to come and discuss his filthy doings at the palace? A palace, it is a place of sacred, it's a place of healing, it is a place of connection with God.
Wow. Well, I would have failed. I promised my audience that would pass by. So the palace is built. I've got my answers on the bedrooms, I've got my answers on the architecture and on the crawls, and yeah, I think I'm doing fine. We need to pick up a little bit. Just if anything comes up, I'll come back to it. I'll come back to it again. And maybe just in final passing, what is the complete kit for royal tools? For royal tools for a king in terms of his weapons, and I heard you mention the stick. Is there anything else that is needed?
They use this a spear. But in a true sense, we don't need any weapons to protect ourselves, because we are commanded by the Creator. It is because of these selfish people who would come and want to attack you. But in a true sense, you are protected by angels in heaven. You don't need the security guard. Look how I drive around. You know, I don't need, they try to put securities at my house. I told them I don't need them, these people. God must protect you. Angels must descend and protect you. I remember one prophet, he was from Limpopo. I was in his church. I don't know him. I was seated somewhere there. He then said, who is Bhungane in this church? I was with a guy, his name is Emmanuel. He says, and then I stood up. I said, I don't know if there's any Bhungane, but I am Bhungane. He says, who is with Bhungane? I said, it's only the two of us. He says, I don't have authority. I liked what that man said. Please, if he's listening, he's watching, he would attest. He would come to this show and say, it's true what he has said. He says, I don't have authority to speak to Bhungane direct, because God will punish me.
Can I speak to the man who came with you?
I then said, this man does not know me well. That's what I said. Talk to me. That congregation, it was overflowed. It was 2 or 3 places. It was packed. I said, no, speak to me. He says, no, I don't have authority. And then he went somewhere and prayed.
That's a spiritual man.
The spiritual man. Then he came back. He says, I don't have authority, but if you allow me, then God will understand it was not me who was spoken direct to you. He said to the church, this man is the dangerous king that I've ever engaged in my life. I said, dangerous? I don't kill people. I don't do wrong. He says, no. I'm talking about the way you pray. Because what you have done, you have made God to descend angels who are meant to protect kings on earth. They decided, these kings, to go away from the ways of God, and those angels were left without the work. But you have restored that dignity of God on earth, and therefore these are the angels who are protecting you. You are the most dangerous king that I've ever came across in my life. He says, 2. These kingdoms that you see that are existing are trying to be a replica of your kingdom. When I mean you, I mean your forefathers' kingdom, because your forefathers were connected with God. He says in the history of your kingdoms, you are the person now who has reconnected with God, who has resuscitated these angels to be alive to do their work on earth. That's spiritual.
Wow. Wow.
He says this is the most dangerous God. He says, I can tell you another thing that you say when you pray. You want me to share that with you? He says, are you not saying this when you pray? Are you not commanding this kingdom under God's protection and God's hands? I said, I do that. He says, you are the most dangerous person that I've ever came across on earth. Because you don't believe in yourself, but you believe in God, and God is in charge. He says that's why Embo kingdom becomes the custodian of the creator on earth.
Wow. Bayethe ngelengele. Ngizokunxeba nje kancane singene ku behaviors nemikhuba yasebukhosini. Yeah, how must young princes and princesses carry themselves?
Remember, it's I hear what you say. It's not easy. It's not easy.
It's my advantage. I am privileged. Remember, I was supposed to come and sit with you for some days. I remember. Now I have it to myself for more than I ordered.
You know, when you are part of the royal family, you cease to be yourself. Any behavioral pattern must be connected with the creator. You must behave exactly the way a spiritual, a possessed person should behave. Your life is not your life. The life that you are living, it is God's life. You don't decide to say, I want to go to something. God tells you it is permissible to do so. You don't decide to say, I want to go to the toilet. He talks to you. He controls your life. And therefore the whole family is then guided by these principles of heaven. These principles that molds you to be that defines you to be a disciplined, to be a spiritual person. So the whole entire family is then taught those ethics, those conducts, so that they live a spiritual life, so that none of them contaminate the environment.
So basically the life of a king must filter its way into the entire household.
You cease to be seen into public. A king or a chief or a member of the royal family or a member of the royal council does not go to shebeens. You don't mingle, you don't shake hands, because you don't know this hand that you are shaking. That's why kings don't shake hands, because you don't know this hand that you are shaking has murdered somebody. You don't know this hand that somebody has used some
potions,
yes, to kill somebody. You don't know this person just came back from washing a corpse. You don't know this person has been involved into wrong things.
Dealings.
Absolutely. Then you hug this person. Because you are the connection with God. What do?
Contaminate yourself.
Absolutely. That's why we don't. You understand? That's how it works in the spiritual realm kingdoms.
Maybe while you're on that, just 1 or 2 minutes just to nibble something from you. The diet of a king?
It should be, in the true sense, the king should be a vegetarian.
Vegetarian.
You don't eat anything, because when I liked one Jewish guy. He said, you want to pray to God, but you are wearing shoes that once lived.
Yeah.
He says you don't wear. That's why he says when you see the story that says you take off your shoes, because this is a sacred, because that skin that you are wearing, it once lived, it once breathed. So therefore you don't. So imagine if you eat that meat, like the way me and Nolukulen we eat the meat a lot. Yeah, you know. So what do? You contaminate and then you shorten your life on earth. And then, you know, we, the people who originate from the river, from the waters, we do not eat our cousins.
You don't eat fish?
Absolutely.
And anything that crawls in.
That's why you need to be very sacred. And you humble yourself as a king. You always remember that for you to be able to exist, the first thing that must occupy your space is God. And the people that are surrounding you must be people of the same
mind.
And those people, they become, you know, they formulate what we call a nation of God on earth.
Wow, when we come back after the break, we'll be picking up the last pieces with King Bhungane here on the greater issues of polyandry, women who want to start marrying more men, and looking at African culture and comparing these two. Don't go away. We'll be back right after the break, and thank you for keeping and staying with us. It's happening, and I'm glad for the time that you're spending with us today, slowly, and but we've covered quite some bit of ground.
Right.
Feel the heat.
Alright. To make it through this journey alive, you're gonna need someone to teach you the ninja way.
Don't just stand there, kill someone!
Feel the excitement. Feel the heat with StarSat. Challenge your ordinary. Experience the extraordinary.
Not only the government, the municipality here has had no plan.
Now, I believe that my peace is my most valuable asset.
Absolutely beautiful!
This is exactly what I was looking for.
DJ Giles!
It is a day to celebrate.
We're ready for action. I like it when it's nice and soft. Yeah, that is nice.
How was it like growing up in Nigeria? Yes, sir, you know what it is.
Feeling is there that, you know, you're doing something special.
Stop being so dramatic, Mira.
You should just be what you want to be.
Experience the extraordinary with StarSat.
It has been a roller coaster here. We have a question from one of the viewers at home who is asking, when it comes to killing animals and the weapons that must be used for killing animals, is it okay to shoot an animal for food? And what kind of weapons must we use when we are killing animals? And maybe how do we kill animals?
Yeah, I think what needs to be done first, you must, before you kill an animal, for example, a goat. Remember, we don't know where that goat comes from. Before you slaughter it, there is a certain medicine. You first cleanse that particular animal while it's still alive. By cleansing it, you then seek permission to say, we are asking permission from you, the creator, because you are the one that gave life
to this
animal. We are seeking permission to kill this animal. Why? We are not just slaughtering, but we want to use it
for food
or for a ritual at home. Then when that day happens, then that day happens, then somebody's kneeling down there with that particular impepa, with that particular medicine, then they cleanse that particular animal, and then what they do, they take little of that medicine, they make it to drink, so that it cleanses, because we don't know what that animal was eating along. Maybe somewhere it contaminated itself with human flesh or whatever.
Looks like I need a full herbal village here. Every time I see King Bong says there's a certain medicine, you know, then he goes again for a few. There's a certain medicine. I need lots of.
Even KFC will never tell you their formula. Chicken Ling will never do that also.
They will never tell you their formulas.
So you can't just let go of the formula.
Yeah, but yes, you're saying something. You're saying something.
So then we seek permission. Then we make this animal to drink this particular, to cleanse it inside, so that when you command this animal to the gods or to God, it is clean. Then weaponry, you don't shoot it. You use a spear or a knife that has also been cleansed of other wrongdoings in the family. Then after killing it, what you do, you then take this particular knives or spears. You don't bring them into your house. You take them outside the house and you go and cleanse them.
Wow.
So that when they come back, they don't bear that blood.
I imagine these guys who shoot people and come into the house with their guns and stuff like that. I mean, this is getting, because I think it also speaks to the concept we had spoken about of war and not bringing weapons that.
No, they don't. Those warriors, they don't come into the yard.
They don't come in the yard.
They must go to the river and go and to be cleansed there in the river. And they stayed for a couple of weeks or days to be cleansed. Then the commandment will come and say, now they are cleared, they can come back. Now imagine how many people who have been into war, who have never been cleansed. Remember the wars that we have engaged here in South Africa, nothing has been cleansed. Or they could claim to say we have done it individually, but it does not happen that way.
At the national level.
You understand? Do you have the authority to be cleansing my blood?
How?
If you are Maponga, you don't
do I even know?
You must first come to the Bhunganes and seek permission and say, I have done wrong to you. They must forgive you. And after forgiving you, then we can then jointly do the ritual together. You know what we did with the Matiwanis in the Eastern Cape? They came and said, Mtimkulu II was killed by the Matiwanis. I said, the vision that I have, you first need to go and speak to your people first. And you do that ritual first to say you have agreed and accepted that you have committed the crime. First. Then from there you then come to us. Then we then jointly work with, because you came verbally to seek for forgiveness. Yes, I said I don't have a problem, but you need to go and go to your gods, to your ancestors, to say, I have committed a crime.
And be accountable.
Then you come, then we do a ritual together for cleansing what we have done. Then you then do with a certain animal, could be a goat, could be a cow. But a cow is not that significant, important. But it has to do with feeding people. But the key one is the goat.
The goat is a signal.
Absolutely. Because when it says, that's when, and comes back and says.
I saw a poster the other day on Facebook, and the goat was complaining. He says, so who told you that I'm a Wi-Fi to your forefathers?
It is somebody who has written that. But ancient times, even in the Bible, you would see that.
The goat is quite
absolutely. Yeah. It has been like that. Somebody was telling me a story, I don't know if it's true. He said, why the Indians, they don't eat cow meat. It is because ancient times, they used to command these cows or cattle to the gods, and therefore when they see that cattle or cow, they see something that links them with God.
Let's pick up on polyandry, just as a parting shot.
Yes.
Women who want to start marrying more men. There's a whole movement now of polyandry, and and there could be some history that we have, Queen Mijaji and other queens who actually were marrying.
You see, those are man-made things.
Yeah.
Spiritually and godly wise, I don't think it is true.
It is true.
Because remember, Khomo came out of the rivers
with his wife.
With his wife. It was not the wife who came out with Khomo. And then
came together.
Absolutely. And then remember also, when you have this particular person, she becomes your partner. Okay? You work together. The one that you are talking about, I've never came across it in my spiritual realm. I've never came across it in any way. Maybe it is something that is being invented. Let's watch the space and see how it is going to end up. And if it is accepted on the other side,
we'll take it from there.
We'll take it from there.
It's a September month, and we also hear this whole celebration of our cultural month. And what are the festivities that we can look forward to on your calendar? Where are you? Are we free to come? Can we? No, but because of Corona, of course, we cannot travel much. But we wanted to find out from you your words and advice around the greater cultural month. Is there a message that you'd want to share with the people? And possibly September being the beginning of the year on the African calendar itself, what does it mean for us in the 21st century?
Remember how Bhungane used to do it also the second, and other kings that were there before. Remember what they used to say in Xhosa. Uma uBhungane bekakhona apha besingeke sihlupheke, because what I'm told he used to do before there was a planting of the crops, whatever.
Season, yeah.
He would then hold them and face
the
east and pray and say, please God, make sure that all is well and it multiplies and it becomes the best crops that would exist in our.
You would actually commit the seeds.
I'll commit the seeds to God.
Then people will start planting.
Absolutely. That's what it is. And then remember, this is the year end, a beginning. They call it beginning.
Yeah.
This is where everything starts. That's why so this is when we say, there's a dispute of 2020. You go to Ethiopia, they've got a different calendar.
Yeah, Chinese different calendar.
Absolutely. Now the question that we should ask ourselves is, which calendar is the one that we should follow? In the ancient days, you would find that there are people who lived, and then you look at their age, they said who and who died at the age of 600. The question was, how did they calculate those things? Was a year to them few months? Was a year to them a month or a full year?
Because you take 9 months to 10 months in your mother's womb.
Absolutely.
But then after that, you start celebrating once every 12 months.
Yes.
So
somebody says that 9 months could be a cycle.
Yes.
That's what somebody said. Who's a scholar?
But it's true. It makes sense. If it takes you 9 months to be born, or even 10 months to be born, then it means that by the time you are actually 50, you have lost 2 months every year, which almost accounts to you are 60 something.
Absolutely. That's when you look at the calendar that we are talking about. Currently, that one that we are using, it is the one that was agreed upon by the Council of Nicaea.
The Greco-Roman calendar.
It's got nothing to do with me and you.
It's out of sync with season, to say the least. It is actually not aligned, because you look at the 2-3 days ago, it was a full moon.
Absolutely.
And to them it's just the 2nd of September.
Absolutely.
Or the 3rd of September.
Absolutely.
But actually to actually learn the season. Look at our women and their cycles. You look at the calendar, it doesn't help you.
It does not help
but
you.
Your body is actually in tune with the cosmic energy.
That's I said we connect with the cosmos.
Yeah.
Whenever we are at the palace at night, our signal is the moon. I don't know how does it connect, but it helps us. You know, the other day we were shocked. We were, I even called my wife, and the entire people who were in the house. We've never seen a moon. This is 2 occasions. One, it was in the evening, around about 9, but the moon, the way it was fast speeding, we're all shocked. I don't know, people were there. It was reddish, but moving fast into set. The other day, it was in the morning at 10. We saw a moon returning where it came from the east. And it was moving fast. Everybody was watching that. So God says something to us. The other day when September the 1st happened, it was very cold. To me, it says something. It simply says that we are no longer in connection.
We've lost touch.
We've lost touch. But if we do the right things, we'll be able to understand that the 1st of September, what does it signify to all of us?
My grandfather, my grandfather, Marara himself, without fail between the 20th and the 25th of August, you'd be sitting on his chair. I don't know, it's when I was too young and I missed the science. But within that 1 week, he will sit in a certain position and read the wind.
That's true.
And when he reads the wind, there will be some certain birds that would sing.
That's true.
And then he would confirm before the end of that week that this year we're having locust. Next year, or this year we're going to have lots of rain.
That's true.
This year it's going to get cold.
Yes.
And without fail, from the 25th to the 6th of September, it will be dry like it is right now, and we'll be told, get your cattle, get your cows, and let's go plowing the field. We'll start working in the dry ground. He would put his seeds in the dry ground.
What you are sharing with me today, you are reminding me of the Dogams, how they studied astrology, how naturally, how they understood.
Yes, up in North Africa there.
You know, we were in Morocco, in a place called Dakhla. What happened there? There was this young girl who was playing drums and singing for us, a breed of Arabs and black. When I walked in, she was singing for me. I listened to a beautiful song, her singing. Spiritually, I connected with her. When, with the premier, the governor, they call it governor, when they finished, they clap hands. I said to her, the antenna upstairs tells me that you are the second generation that sings, that plays drums the way you. He says, yes, my grandmother used to do that. Okay? Third. He says, my grandmother used to do that. I said, I see her in a boat. This woman says, no, please stop. I said, what do you mean, please stop? Says, my grandmother used to sing for the moon. That's where I'm coming. She used to take a boat at night and sail to the coast of Senegal and go in the middle of the sea with the husband and sing for the moon.
That's deep.
That's very deep. Now that's what you are reminding me of, your grandfather sitting there understanding this.
And it would rain.
It's true.
It was without fail every year when we came from school to come home for Christmas. We would know we had fresh melis. We had these sweet reeds. Since pumpkins are there. It's like without fail for the longest of time.
Now all of us has that. But all what we need to do is just to go back to the origins and connect. I'll tell you of my son, Kosi. Kosi, if it rains heavily, he would go and stand in the middle of the rain. What he says there, I don't know.
It's also
just look up the sky as it is raining onto his face, and then you would talk. And then you would come back, and then I'll ask him, Kosi, what did you say? He says, it is between me and God. It is my secret between me and God. And immediately the rain will then subside.
Stops. Now we need to learn how to make it stop. We need.
Now my grandfather. I'll come to that one. Okay, I call him grandfather, but indeed he's not my grandfather. He's a brother to my father. He goes to the mountain of Ukahlamba.
Yeah.
I don't know what he does there, but he would mix the snow, and immediately when he descends from that mountain, starts raining. When they were doing a ritual for me, that morning, it only rained into my place where I was sleeping. He came out and said, indeed, you are from this family. The sun was shining, but there was a cloud, but rain was pouring onto the place where I was sleeping. I was like, it is raining. Then I came out. It only rained into this house.
In your house only?
Only.
Wow. These are ancient, and we had our own Facebook, for example. Interesting Facebook. It's only now in wisdom that I can look back and actually enjoy it. When two chickens fight, then we say visitors are coming.
That's true.
And it's for sure. Before you notice it,
they will make a joke also.
They're already here.
They will make a joke also to say, when you see a flag, these are guys when they're sitting making a joke. That's how we would put these things together. When a fly is like bothering you, they said, please go home. Your wife is busy with somebody else.
And then
it will be a joke to say, don't talk like that. Hey, rush home.
or we are trying to eat some meat and it falls on the ground and say your wife is hungry.
Or maybe, absolutely. Maybe you are trying to drink and then the whole
water spills.
They said your ancestors are hungry.
Are thirsty.
Yeah, they are thirsty. Yeah. Maybe it's food. But these are things that we need to record. Yeah. We need to put together so that we are able to. We went to the river where Bhungane II used to do his rituals, where you would prepare kings. When I arrived there, our people from Natal, they said to me, please speak to the river. When I was speaking, stars came out of the river. We saw white kettles, white goats, chickens, and women were ululating.
You were at home?
I was at home. And stars were like, you could hear the sound. The shooting stars, like, and it was daylight. Then we moved to another place again, where Bhungane has been buried, the second one, in the mountain. When I spoke to that mountain, it exploded. And the members of the family, they said, what more do we want? What more do we need to confirm that indeed this is his reincarnation?
Wow.
Now these are things that we always take for granted. I said to one person, reincarnation is very important, because if you reincarnate, you connect with the ancient times, because it could be me. I remember the brother to my father. He says, ungenwe uBhungane lo qala nala wesibili, hayi lo wesibili yedwa, because lo wesibili wangenwa ulo qala.
The combination.
Then, in simple terms, how old I am. I caught you on that one.
Off guard.
How old I am. Because I'm the reincarnation of the first and the second.
Old wisdom. young body.
That when you ask me about things that I'm talking about, you then find yourself, where does he know these things? This guy is a young, small boy. Then you forget to say, this is a reincarnation. And when you see me, you see that particular, these two other people. I'll tell you the last one of my daughter. Her name is Somsholo Gaz. I had an engagement in my dream. I was in Abidjan to say, when you arrive at home, do not be surprised. You are going to have a daughter. It is me who's coming back on earth. I'm coming back on the form of a female. Now, all what I'm trying to say in this, if he could come in the form of a female, it simply means that we should not chastise our girls. We should respect them. We should do away with this gender-based violence, because we don't know who are we. Back. Yes, we are killing. Thank you.
Wow. It has been a beautiful day. We've built palaces today. We've learned behavior around the palaces. Our relationships have been discussed. Dietary issues, construction. We went to church and we came back very quickly because church was very hot today. When we were discussing issues of the Bible there, I think many people had their feet.
Our apologies.
Have their feet.
My apologies. I love you all.
Cut up there and we'll do a song with King Bhungane on our way out and have some fun here. But what I want us to emphasize on this cultural month, good people, let us learn to respect ourselves as Africans.
Absolutely.
Let's go back to our African traditions. Eat organic foods. Where possible, please try and dress up organic. Where possible, own the production means of what you are using. Where possible, go back and build yourself a home. Build a homestead. Don't put all your money in banks and buying small little starter packs of cars. Go back to the village. Build yourself a small little homestead, small few cows and a few goats there, and look after your homestead. Connect with nature. We used to be told that eating pizzas and etc. was being civilized. Now we know it is a source of many and great diseases and problems. It is important for our young generation to learn again how to respect ourselves, how to carry ourselves with dignity. And when you hear a king advising his son as to how he must behave, that is an opportunity for you also to learn how best you must run your own relationship. We bring up Inkosi, Inkosana, we bring up ladies, princesses and princesses in our own house. And remember, what we are bringing them up to become is what we are teaching them to become. Our homes must become institutions that are developing the next generation. And I don't have enough words to thank my king here for the time that he has indulged with us. We have covered an array of subjects from burial rites to marriage rites to funerals, king installations, and we have another program that will be coming up actually on one of the local movie Magic or DSTV. We shall be telling you as we are going along in that particular space. But thank you very much, and thank you very much. We also learned lots of things about clothes, you know. You have borrowed these clothes, the weapons that we're using, and it has been a beautiful, beautiful occasion that we've had a chance of spending with you here on your program, Sankofa, which I'd maybe just indulge with my king here. One last song. My name is Maponga Deji Garamboko Garamashamba Huda Chirira Navana Vanjibo Hokhiro Chizuku Vichinyakunua. Wanamshamba Negore Makumba Mwana Musende Weshanu Chirira Navana Vanji Tisu Vanachigarama Matanda Novora Chiwechiteza Chinotezra Varikure Pedona Tambana Cho Tamburi Paruare Chiamba Kusesera Mponango Kuba. And I'm so glad, and don't go around this world not doing what you don't know how to do. If you decide to do it, you know what to do. Do it better than me. And with me today, King Bhungane, it has been an honor. In this September month, the cultural month, we shall take a trip into the greater space of arts and culture. We shall indulge ourselves again and bring a few artists for you, bring some few educationists from the greater space of Kemet. But King Bhungane will be popping in and coming in, giving us more information as we are going along. But it will still be a great favor. And maybe just on our way out, I hear the guys are saying, I got 1 extra 2 minutes for you. You share us a little bit on the UKA, United Kingdoms of Africa, and what possibly you want to see us doing there.
What we have done as the people of Embo, we have restored our dignity by creating what we call United Kingdoms of Africa, where we will be having our own presidents in the continent for the first time.
Wow.
Where we are not linked with colonialism, we are not linked with anything that is colonially attached. We'll have our own presidents, we'll have our own ambassadors, we'll have our own government, we'll have our own treasury, we'll have our own judicial system that is run by the indigenous kings of this continent.
Wow.
So we will unite our people. We'll have our own continental parliament where we deal with our issues. Land, it belongs to the people of this continent. The minerals will be properly regulated and be shared amongst the people of the continent. Dignity will be restored under the stewardship of the Creator.
Of the Creator himself.
Yes. Our motto in United Kingdoms of Africa is that everything that is here on earth is under the stewardship of the Creator, that is God. And we are just the ambassadors, the custodian. The people also are part of this custodianship. So all what we need to do is to work with unity, and then we then restore our dignity by upholding to the laws of our people.
The laws of the Creator.
Of the Creator.
The laws of the Creator. We want to challenge all the kings that are out there in other royal houses around South Africa, Central Africa, and Northern Africa, wherever you are. It is important that as kings we stop just drinking whiskeys and flying around the world with pleasantries. I think it has become very important now that we come together as royalties and rebuild our broken nation, restore the dignity of our people, get land into our own hands, build up economies for our people. And some of you guys are in trouble because you're being bribed by the political system with a small little car here and there and a small little allowance. But that is not worth comparing to the amount of power that you can have when all the kings come together on the greater space of African continent. We therefore want to say link up with the Embo Kingdom. I think our details will be, the details of King Bhungane will be available. Lorna is the secretary there in the office. Please link up with her, give us your address immediately when this corona thing is done. Hey! Mali, Gambia, where I wanted to travel the world and see other places. And what is important also to me, what will be very, very important, is also the preservation of our sacred sites. Like you're talking about the river, sentimentally, where the rivers of kings and stuff like that, and preserving of these sacred sites. If you go back to my country in Zimbabwe, Matopos, for example, they buried the white men there, right at the shrine.
Can you imagine?
Yeah, right at the shrine. Victoria Falls, they put a statue there of a white man whom we don't even know what the hell he's doing there watching over the falls. So we're also looking at the preservation of our own African culture, our own African sacred sites, our own traditions, above all in this beautiful September month, which is supposed to be a cultural month. We say don't just put on that cloth on your neck and say, me I'm Venda, me I'm Shangani. It's not cosmetic. It has to start with right inside your head here. Start eating Shangani. Start thinking Shangani. Start singing Shangani. Start dreaming Shangani. Of course, no matter how much white you want to become, you always dream in your own mother tongue. So stop running away from yourself. That's what you are. It's me, Maponga J. Chigaramboko, a grandson of the Shanganis, a grandson of the Vendors, the Mbedzis, a grandchild of the Soses, and a great tribe of the Mgonyamas, the Zulus, the Embos, the Bantus, the greater Abangoni. I have a new name now. I used to say my grandfather is Zulu, but now I know he is not Zulu. Abangoni. So I got myself an anchor in this journey here, and it has been a joy. And thank you again for spending some time with us, and for your patience with us, and we really appreciate. As for you at home, please stay tuned. Other programs are lined up for you. Maponga J, I'm out of here. Don't do what I wouldn't do. If you do it better. I want that show to the king to become my new stinger on my show, yeah? Remove that Msweli guy, I don't even know who the hell he is. This will be the new stinger.